So you have this leaning body expression of this dragon style. The distance that you can generate with this kind of long body posture. So when you see my back leg lifted up, it's not only a kick, but it's in an effort to get more distance. If you're just to extract the hands are called piercing. You can isolate piercing into this basic Shou-fa hand method. And then start to include the Shen-fa, all of the body mechanics. So the piercing shape, you could say, is essentially, as an overview, is driven originally from the feet. The treading, squeezing of the foot from the ball of the foot to the heel. That, you could say, is the main or the original control center, the seat of power for the expression of piercing. So as you start to shape your piercing palm from this very loose, relaxed, swinging model, start to enact this pumping of the foot, left and right side, such that when I retract the hand in, I'm sinking back to the heel. When I let it go, I'm coming into the ball of the foot. Right now I'm using this kind of levering of the foot, treading down from the ball of the foot to the heel, in order to use this kind of lifting and dropping power. It's coming particularly from the foot. This also helped to enact or put the reeling silk, rise, fall, overturn inside of this kind of linear format. You can really feel it pulling back and piercing out. Pull back to the heel, lift up to the ball of the foot. So this kind of dropping, it serves as a kind of power source. So, just one side. You can see the spinning and dropping of the foot. Pull back and spit out. Pull back and spit out. This becomes a very palpable sensation, such that you're basically using this falling action, this treading action between the ball of the foot and the heel as a source of power. As well, you have the rotation of the waist. It's also being driven by the alternating left and right lift and drop. So I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see this spinning and dropping of the foot to add power to the push out of the pierce and the pull back. Particularly when you're working on this figure eight kind of track, you really get a lot of acceleration of pulling this back and then spitting it out. Pull back and spit out. If I'm only using the rotation and not using the foot, you won't get this same kind of rise, fall, overturn. When I press into the heel, the lower back gate opens. When I pierce out, the upper back gate opens and the lumbar gate closes. So you have an opening and closing, which essentially is another way of talking about this kind of movement. It's a circulation method. The coordination and conduction of that power into the hands, but it conducts as well up into the upper body right through the three gates. The three gates also carry with it this lift of the peritoneal sac, the organ sac, the lift and the drop. Essentially what you have is something like Han Shong Ba Bei, hollowing of the chest and pulling up at the back, which in itself is expressive of a certain kind of range of motion. That range of motion coordinates with the pumping of the feet, the three-gate conduction, movement through the three gates. Some people would call this the craniosacral pump. And if you really want to kind of talk about energetics, you can express this back gate theory into the entire body system. So essentially, we're using this kind of T-fang. T means to lift, fang means to release. You have this lift when you open the upper cervical back gate, and you have, when you drop, you're opening the lower back gate. So you're having a continual alternating movement between the lower and upper back gate. It's like the snake tongue regurgitating, coming out and testing, like tan. Tan means, tan is this idea of the snake's tongue coming out and monitoring the atmosphere. Searching palm often uses a strategy, like a tic-tac-toe strategy, to either control the left and right simultaneously, or the top and the bottom simultaneously. So when you see piercing, piercing is usually the most common representation of the principle, which is called tan, searching or testing. You have this very minute differentiation of the finger digits in pulling in and releasing. So you're starting with the very tipped distal digits and then winding in. It's very important to get this kind of step-by-step, digit-by-digit winding in of the hands. As you pull the fingers in, you're activating and basically pushing out the theater eminence at the same time. So it's like a circle where I can grab, pull back, and instantly hit you with the theater eminence. It's very quick. It can be used in a number of ways to break, especially when you're using two hands. Using one hand as the grip, the other as the hit, and vice versa. It's very good for snatching joints. It's very good for snatching any kind of loose clothing, even a bit of skin. You get very good. This kind of rubbing of piercing is touching the opponent and then turning over from the yang side to the yin side.